It really is amazing to me just how many of these coaches just don't understand situational timeouts in football and the way that their team is reacting. And I know I can't speak for Bear fans, but I hear just like what you hear about all the fans out there, and that is that they have very little patience. And Matt Eberflus has had 4 years, and there were just too many things happening at the end of the games for them to put up with, yet another mistake-prone final 2 minutes of a game for the Bears.
Yeah, and that was a mistake not firing at the end of last year. I remember we talked about this because if you have a guy who's basically got the guillotine over his head coming into this year like Matt Eberflus did and a #1 overall draft pick and things don't work out in that first year, then you're firing him. And now on top of it, you already have an offensive coordinator that's been fired. So you're going to have Caleb Williams with 3 offensive coordinators in the span of 1 football season, basically, before he takes the field next year. That's how you screw up a quarterback. We've seen it here 50 times.
Well, they decided to give the interim tag to the offensive coordinator that has actually gotten a lot out of Caleb Williams over the last 2 games.
He's not getting the job.
Well, I know he's not getting the job. It's probably going to be Cliff Kingsbury, I would think, will have the inside track of that job. And if not him, any other one of these coaches like a Mike Vrabel, Bill Belichick, anybody with any sort of reputation will have an inside track for that job. The question is that, the GM's pretty powerful there, Ryan Poles, and he's done a really good job. They have a good team. And, it's going to be very interesting to see who he would want as the coach, because I don't suspect that they're going to get rid of Ryan Poles. He's done a good job of manipulating the draft over the last couple of years and free agency and trying to do the right thing to build around a young quarterback. So I also don't think that he is going to want like some dynamic personality in that building.
It really is amazing that Cliff Kingsbury, and we fall in love with these coordinators so much, especially the offensive guys. And Cliff Kingsbury, as an offensive coordinator now with Jaden Daniels, who has been, he had a couple of, bad games. Yesterday, he was amazing again. So now he's got Jaden Daniels. The Commanders have turned it around, and now he's a hot commodity again because he worked with Caleb Williams. But everybody forgets that Cliff Kingsbury in Arizona used to get off to these good starts. Then he collapsed every single year. And then that last year he was there, they had the Hard Knocks in season, and everybody was crushing that building. He had lost the locker room. He was a joke. And now all of a sudden he's back in with Jaden Daniels, and now he's going to get hired as a head coach again.
Hey, that's the way it works, man. That's the flavor of the month. And it's recency bias, if you would ask me. But I'm not saying he's not worth it. I think he would be a smart choice for the Bears. So much more so for the Bears than the Jets, I can tell you that.
But there's
or
so
the
much
Giants, for that matter.
And I know there's just and maybe Cliff Kingsbury the second time around will do it. He's been a head coach in a bunch of places. There's so much more than just the X's and O's with the offense. And, if you made him an assistant head coach, and brought him in to run the offense and then had somebody else there like a Vrabel, would that work with those 2 type of personalities? I don't know, but I'd be looking to do something like that. I just don't know if I want to.
Yeah, but he's not going to leave Washington to become like an assistant head coach.
Unless you pay him a whole bunch and then he gets to work with Caleb Williams again. I don't know. I
think he's.
Is anybody else going to hire him?
I would just say the odds-on favorite out there, just simply because of his relationship with Caleb. That's what I would think, and I could also see, if Caleb continues to play well under this current offense now, this current iteration, I could also see maybe keeping that guy and keeping half of your staff and trying to build around it. But
that doesn't work, right?
But see, what happens is when you start firing coaches and firing GMs, just as the Jets are finding out right now, there is a level of dysfunction that it's almost impossible to overcome. It's after scoring 3 times yesterday, the Jets had 8 series where they didn't score again. Mm-hmm. And I have to tell you, Leonard Williams probably had maybe his best game ever. And that interception that he got and that run back was remarkable for a man that big.
Yeah, well, it was the longest in NFL history by a defensive lineman. So, yeah, you've never seen anything
he didn't
like
look
that
like
before.
A defensive lineman running.
He was flying. I don't know. How does he not get caught by somebody on that offense? Does he not? Is that business decision time again?
No, I think that you're talking about a wide receiver.
Or a running back, or
I don't know,
tight end, or anybody who's not 350 pounds.
If Aaron Rodgers looks the other way instead of tries to hit Garrett Wilson. He's trying to hit Garrett Wilson.
Yeah.
If he looks the other way, Tyler Conklin is wide open. He just looked the wrong way. And basically what that defense is a fire zone where the defensive tackles actually back off the line of scrimmage, trying to confuse the quarterback into thinking that he's got to throw the ball hot because there are other players that are in the pass rush.
Yeah.
And he could have won either way, either side. And, of course, I can understand why you'd want to throw it to Garrett Wilson because the previous play, you had him wide open on a slant and go, and you overthrew him. I mean, Aaron Rodgers should have had like 4 or 5 touchdown passes yesterday.
Yeah, he played horrible, and we were told that he was healthy, and this is the healthiest he'd been, and he gave an all-time answer. I don't know if it was actually caught on audio or whatever, Jerry has it, but he gave an all-time answer when someone asked, hey, you're healthy now, and this was your worst game that you played, essentially. I'm paraphrasing the question. And his answer was, there's 11 guys on the field, and sometimes it's my fault. That was his answer, which is the most Aaron Rodgers answer of all time, isn't it? There's 11 guys, which is basically, as you say all the time, it's his nuanced way of saying that everybody else is at fault but him. There's 11 guys on the field, and sometimes it's my fault. What he is implying is, on that particular thing, that wasn't my fault because this and this guy on the red line and yada, 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 go away.
Unfortunately for him, that was, Green Bay had enough of that. You know what I mean? Like Green Bay had heard that, had seen that, had felt that, and I think they were somewhat quietly, laughing that you have no idea what you're getting yourself into until you get into it.
Right.
And now they're into it, and unfortunately things have not gone well for him or the Jets, and this is what you get.
Yeah, and it's easy to deal with when you're winning 2 MVPs back-to-back in 20 and 21, and then you end up having a season. It was a down season that they missed the playoffs in 23, and he's doing all of that stuff. And then he was gone. And then he came here, and he got hurt, and now he's been awful since he's come back. And there's really no other excuse. I mean, and if you see, I mean, it's no surprise that when a veteran quarterback has a massive injury and they come back in that next season that they're struggling. See Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins doesn't look anything like he did the last couple of years in Minnesota prior to that injury.
He had some moments, though, this year. He's played well in some games this year. Yesterday was an absolute disaster.
He got off to a really bad start, though, too,
he did,
off of the injury.
There was probably about 4 or 5 weeks in there where he played really, really well, and now all of a sudden it's gone back to where he was at the beginning of the season. So that's why, there's all this talk about Michael Penix down there now. And if it's not this year, Michael Penix will take over next year. I think that's pretty much a given. But for Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets, I don't know if they continue to lose like this. There's no way that you think you can bring him back here.
Oh, well, he's definitely not coming back. There's no way. He can't. It's done. He's just, if he really is healthy, like he's saying that he's healthy, and I know that we don't necessarily totally believe that, then you just can't. It's done. It's over. This whole thing.
I actually thought I saw him moving around better yesterday than I had in the previous 3 or 4 games.
Sure, but, I mean, he's off a bye. He had some time, so he healed up a little bit, but I mean, it's over, and it should be over now. I mean, I don't, and then if, of course, and when Ulbrich says what he says after the game, when he's asked about, are you thinking about making a quarterback change? He said, not as of today, which is, of course, leaving the door open, and everybody goes running and grabbing their pens and their laptops and freaking out. But nobody should really even care at this point because his team is dead and they're a bunch of losers and they can't even win a game when they're about to go up 28-7. I mean, I stand by this is the biggest group of losers I've ever seen in any pro sport ever.
I will say this, that when Aaron Rodgers has had a 14-point lead at home, whether it be in Green Bay or at MetLife Stadium, you know what his record was going into that game yesterday under those circumstances?
I'm sure very good would be my guess.
74-0.
Right.
And then he got jetted.
Right. Welcome to the Jets.
Welcome to the Jets is right.
Yeah. Where things you never imagined could happen to you.
74-0 when leading by 14 points or more on your home field, which obviously is Lambeau and MetLife Stadium.
Yeah, so that Ulbrich says that not as of today thing. They go running to Aaron Rodgers. He goes, I don't know. I guess I'll have to talk to Jeff if that's what he's thinking. So now, but of course it's one of those classic things. He didn't say he was going to sit him. You just said, not as of today are we making a change. And now Aaron Rodgers gets it secondhand from the reporters and goes, oh, well, that's what Jeff is thinking.
Well, that's the problem. When you get it secondhand, you don't know how it was said, in which context it was said. I would suspect that he will be starting next week.
Yeah, me too. But I mean, I don't even know what I do if I'm him anymore. I really don't know. It's impossible. He's a tough guy to, climb into his head and figure out what he's thinking. But, I mean, this is just so bad, and it's not getting any better. It's like you keep saying he can't go out like this. He can't go out like this. Well, he's going out like this. And it's just getting worse and worse. And I don't even know. I mean, you'd think you could look at the schedule and say, oh, I mean, maybe there's a game or two you could win in there to make him feel better about this thing as he, goes off into retirement. I mean, I don't think they could beat anybody.
I think the good news is that at least Leonard Williams justified his first-round draft choice.
Yeah, but he played way better for the Giants than he did for the Jets, and now he's at this point in his career as a veteran is playing better than he ever has. He had a huge game last week too.
That's right.
So I mean, he's playing better than he ever has. So now you get Geno Smith and Leonard Williams and
Sam Darnold.
Sam Darnold. I saw the Adam Shine tweet also that Al referenced to the warm-up show where Shine tweeted out that it's the first time since 1998 that a team has lost to two quarterbacks they drafted in the same season.
Yeah, the Chargers were the last ones who had done that.
Oh, my goodness. Yep. I mean, it's that embarrassing.
It's just all coming up Jet-esque, essentially, is what's going on here.
I mean, but it's and you could also throw the Giants in there too because everybody. So like it was the Giants who traded Leonard Williams to the Seahawks, so you could put Leonard Williams in that same thing. Xavier McKinney is having an all-time year. Saquon Barkley might win the MVP. I mean, it's just every guy.
I think this would be. I would say right now, If Lamar and Baltimore would have won yesterday, I would have said Lamar would be in the lead.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like Josh Allen is in the lead right now.
Well, yeah, after last night and an incredible play and another big win, and 49ers are in trouble, man. I don't think they're going anywhere this year, losing Christian McCaffrey again. But yeah, I mean, it is just it's insane when you leave this place. Like the image that I could think of. You ever see what like people are working around like highly toxic stuff? And then they're in these suits, and then when they leave whatever that area is, the highly toxic stuff, they spray them down,
Yes.
It's like that's what happens when you leave the Jets and Giants. You just get sprayed down, you're clean, all the sludge gets off you, and you're reborn somewhere else. What is it about both these teams that you leave here and you're good, but when you're here, you stink? What is it?
It's really.
Well, you're good somewhere else, and you come here and you stink.
It's more apt to be the football teams than the other teams.
Yeah, I mean, there's been plenty. I mean, we've talked about that with the Mets for years, where whether it be Travis d'Arnaud or whoever the hell else, you feel like they leave Justin Turner. We used to say that about certain guys, but yeah, with the football teams, it's far worse because they've been bad for so long, but. I mean, there's clearly a culture problem in both of these places, and we said it 10 million times because it's the truth. The only thing that gets either one of these teams out of it is drafting the guy at the most important position
and making sure that you have the right guy standing on the sideline.
Yeah,
I mean, all right. So the Giants on Thursday, competitive. That's all I could say. They were a competitive team. They lost the game. I think if you're a Giant fan, while you want your team to win, you also want that number one overall pick.
Yeah.
You got to be realistic about this. I know the players don't really care about that. I know the coaches that are currently coaching the team don't care about that. The coaches currently coaching the team, unless they have been given some sort of edict by the owner, are coaching for their lives. And the GM is GMing for his life. With the Giants. I mean, they don't want to go out embarrassing.
No.
And so if you can tell me that, okay, Drew Lock's going to keep the game close, he's going to make a couple nice plays, and he's going to have a unfortunate interception return for a touchdown, and you're going to lose, but it's competitive. I think I could take that, knowing that I'm just going to keep climbing, up the draft ranking status. And listen, the Raiders are terrible.
Yeah, they're really bad. Well, the Jaguars actually had some fight yesterday. They were getting killed, and then the reason they had some fight and came back is because of what happened in that game. As that Al Shire, who gets kicked out of the game, just completely takes out Trevor Lawrence. And I had the 4 box up, and I had that game on live when I saw that, and that was like an audible as he just lays him out when Trevor Lawrence is trying to slide. You see that in that CBS Sports Network playing it now. You see that stiff arm thing from Trevor Lawrence that you've seen from Tua before, yes. And it was just like, oh God. So you're not going to see him for a while. It's going to be more Mac Jones, which is not good for the Jets or Giants when you're talking about getting a higher pick, because he just is awful, Mac Jones, absolutely awful. But they did get back into that game a little bit. But, yeah, I mean, that was that's what you got to compete with when you're talking about. And who knows if you're even going to draft the guy either. I mean, you can build teams other ways. But the thing is, like the Jets and Giants, I don't believe that they can do that. Like the thing that, like, I'll give you an example. What's going on with the Vikings now can't happen here. It can't. Meaning that they found a coordinator who came in and is 30-16 as a head coach, who was their second choice after Jim Harbaugh, and they get Sam Darnold, a scrap heap guy, and he's already got like 10 games this year where he's got 100 quarterback rating or better. Like that can't happen here. It can happen in a place like that. It can't happen here. It can't.
Well, do you know why? I mean, you're so emphatic about it.
It's just this place. It's the culture, it's the stadium, it's the fans, it's us, it's Pat Leonard, it's Rich Cimini. It's just like this. Everybody's just on you for the second you get here, yes. And there's just pressure, and people and people say, well, you could be a star anywhere. Okay, you can be a star anywhere today with social media, but there still is something different about coming here, especially with 2 different reasons. One, the Giants have a standard of winning and multiple Lombardis, and there's pressure there with the New York Giants. And also the Jets, it's like, God, you could be the guy who turns the Jets around. Like, that could be amazing. So you've got those pressures. Then you got the media. Then everything is covered like crazy. And then, like, in these other places, like, they actually... Like, there's just not as much criticism. I spent 5 years in Pittsburgh. The Steelers were not good every single year that I was there, and they'd criticize it, but it wouldn't be like the way we do here.
Yeah, I know that. Same thing.
Like the Post-Gazette's not slamming the hell out of people every single day.
I felt that way both in Arizona and Cincinnati. Like, they cover it. They're passionate about their team. But, yeah, there's more voices here. There's more agita here. Yeah. There's more negativity here. And, as a player, or a coach, when I've always first meet a new player that comes to town or a new coach that comes to town, I said, man, you got to buckle up, man. You got to buckle up, and you just got to be able to stay away from all the negativity, because there's going to be somewhere along the line, there's going to be some negativity. And, case in point, the Mets this year, there was literally 3 months of nothing but negativity.
Yeah.
No, I mean, you go April, May, and June was just awful. And then all of a sudden, they caught fire, they turned it around, and then you see the other side of it. The other side of it is just when you actually do make it, and you do become successful, and you do win, and you go into the playoffs. You see how the fans react. It's an overreaction the other way.
That's right, and that's why we'll be holding space for the 2024 New York Mets forever.